Apparently somebody who thinks like it's the 1960s, and that would be Nick Saban. According to Jahmyr Gibbs, and this actually popped up a couple of days ago, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, LaVar, because I know you and Petros were talking about just sort of the Nick Saban effect in Alabama yesterday, and just sort of his approach to games and their approach towards building programs. You talked about USC, Penn State, just sort of what the approach is for some of these schools. And Jahmyr Gibbs, who's the first-round pick of the Detroit Lions this year, they were asking him recently about
running back.
Yeah, the running back, asking him recently the differences between the NFL thus far and with Nick Saban in Alabama, and he said the following, quote, Saban, we're probably hitting every day, full pads in the heat for 2 hours. Here, we get good work in, but they don't try and kill us. Now, he's not the first guy that's come out and complained or at least spoken about just the grind of the Alabama practices. That's been a story that's been out there for a while. But my question is, if it's so rough and they beat you up so bad, why does he continue to land some of the best recruits every single year?
Because they win. There's a method to the madness for certain. But again, is the method that the players are that good, or is the method that there's a combination of really, really solid coaching to great coaching and the players are really, really good? Or, is it that there's the preparation and they're really, really, really good and there's good coaching? What is – I don't know what the combination of what the success is. I just know that Nick Saban has been able to establish greatness connected to Alabama. And to me, it's created a sustainable surplus and just a constant restocking of 5-star, 4-star players and prospects that are coming out of high school.
I mean, would you want to go to Alabama coming out of high school, knowing all these stories about the grind, the practice, if you knew that it was simply a vessel to get you to the NFL and your NFL dreams, if you knew it was going to come with all this grind and there would be, something on the back end that could, deter you from getting a longer-term contract because you're beat up coming out of the school, that wouldn't steer you in another direction? Or at least –
I think you got to take everything into consideration when you're trying to choose a school. I wanted to win a national title. I wanted to win a few national titles. I loved Florida State because Florida State was, very competitive and was close to winning a national title. And, I never visited the school, but I was very intrigued and interested and liked it. Same with Miami. If I knew that there was a school I could go to and I was guaranteed the opportunity with my hard work to be able to actually play for a national title, I would probably entertain going there. Absolutely. If everything else fit, if the school fit what I wanted out of school, if the coaching staff, if we kind of had a good kind of understanding of one another, because there's also the personal aspect of it too, where you want to accomplish on a personal level as well. And do I have an opportunity to do that, or am I just a name in the crowd? I never wanted to be just a name in the crowd. And I knew if I could play, if I got on the field, I would be okay. But one of the biggest reasons why I chose to stay in Pennsylvania, outside of me wanting to play at a linebacker position, and linebacker U was, and is Penn State, I just was nervous to go out of state and play at a school that had so much talent.
What do you mean? You traveled to Germany to play basketball when you were a kid.
Yeah, but it's like if you make the wrong decision and you go somewhere, like for instance, they had Jamal Reynolds that had committed to there the same time I did. They already had a few really, really good linebackers on that team. And I was like, man, these dudes are from Florida. So if I go to Florida and it comes down to we're just as good as one another and we're playing the same position, they're going to go with the Florida kid over the out-of-towner.
And that was at Florida State or Florida?
That was at Florida State. So I guess things have really changed since I was coming out of high school, because it used to be colleges really stayed in certain recruiting areas for their school, and now it doesn't seem as though they have any type of borders. It's just as much as they can afford in terms of being able to travel around and go recruit. So I think today's day and age of recruiting and going to, schools out of state is a much easier proposition to navigate than it was back then. And knowing what you know now, if I think I can get on the field and play, I think you certainly are going to entertain going to Alabama. And for what it's worth, to be able to say what Jahmyr said is almost, in some ways, in some regards, even though he may not realize it yet, it's a badge of honor. It's a badge of honor to be able to make it through an Alabama week of practice. It's a badge of honor to be able to make it onto the field for Alabama. So there's that aspect of it too, because I interviewed Jonathan Allen one time, and Jonathan Allen, his mindset falls right in line with how Nick Saban is.
He's an impressive dude. I actually heard that interview.
Yeah,
that's a guy who you want drafted to your team.
Yeah,
that's a leader.
Grown man.
Yeah,
he's a grown ass man. So, just everybody has different opinions, and I get, you could say, it's easier, or we get a lot of good work done without, you getting beat up or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, I had my most impressive games, my best games, my best times when I was in college, and it was because I didn't have no money, and I wasn't, there's a difference between making it and trying to stay making it, and making it and still trying to make it. Right, and the type of work that goes into it, you don't have a choice, because if you make the choice to not be what they want you to be, they'll have somebody else take your spot. So there's the idea, there's a fear factor level, there's a I have to do this level, and those who can't handle it, they transfer. And they kind of, in most cases, more often than not the few cases that you see where they go to a different school and they do well, those guys fade away. Transfer guys fade away, and it's sad. I mean, in some cases now with the transfer portal, it does work. I do believe that it does have an opportunity to work for older guys that may have not had an opportunity. There might be guys that just really are just better or in a better situation and a better fit, and it's better for you to go somewhere else. Like, transferring does work for some, but for me, historically, it's always exposed weaker guys, weaker mentally, but that's a little different now. But with that being said, I just think that those things, it's a badge of honor to be able to go through a rigorous work and get yourself prepared for games.
And I also think that Saban gets, I don't want to say it's a bad rap. I just think there's a feeling that he's this, because what he gives the media and what he gives his players, I think, are two different things.
I've hung out with Coach Saban. He was recruiting me to the Miami Dolphins. Super cool dude.
That's and I've heard the same thing. Dude. Like Jason Taylor has said, like, he to this day he still talks to Nick Saban, and the narrative was, well, Nick Saban was a bust as an NFL head coach. Not really, man.
He wasn't. No, he just didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like he didn't win a Super Bowl, and they went with Dante Culpepper instead of Drew Brees. Like that's what happened. But I think that if you hear him do any of the pre and post game when Alabama gets eliminated, he's fantastic. If you hear, I just think what he gives us, the media and the public, and what he gives his players are two different sides. And I think he's got a lot of people fooled, which is why part of it is why he's able to land such top recruits, like why he's able to get players to buy into what he's done over the past,
his wife
10,
is pretty
years.
dope. His wife is pretty dope too.
Yeah.
They're a really good team. They're a really good team. And I don't know how involved he is in recruiting at this point, because he's a legend. I mean, he's achieved greatest of all time at what he does. Who wouldn't want to, first of all, play for that?
Agreed.
The greatest coach of all time in college football, and even in one of them in sport in general. Who wouldn't want to entertain playing for a legend? I know I did.